How many of you think our students really believe that we are there for them to succeed at what they want in life and not just to pass tests? I would love for more of them to feel that way. Now, did you know that some of the things that you enjoyed when you were young, maybe things you might like to use in your work, things you might love for life, we're each born with a blueprint of our own desires. And that's why in a family of 5 people, each might do something different. Those activities that draw them in can actually be incorporated into their work and life, if only they can manage to keep a hold of them. Our young magician who likes his eye-hand coordination, paying attention to detail, and problem solving could be a budding engineer, mechanic, or architect. Now we're asking our students to make choices really early in their life. And I think they need to remember what they love in order to do this properly. We're born passionate and curious, but at a certain point, I'm sad to say, our very well-intentioned education system actually does knock some of that out of us. At about age 6, we become action and achievement focused. Someone sets a plan, creates a schedule, and students go in and they sit down, but some might even start then to lose that spark for what they love, not by choice, but by necessity, as they find it harder to grasp some of the things that don't come as easily to them. And each year we move further away from what some of those young people love as we educators try to follow curriculum. And I believe it's up to us to help them remember what they love throughout their entire classroom career. So how much more fun and interesting would school be if we could find out what each student's passions are and then harness that creativity that we've heard about today, so that students can actually use those things to learn some of their courses, like some do for math, using puzzles and drawing and working together to work things out instead of just using memorization and formulas. Now, choosing a career involves a lot of self-awareness. They need to remember what they're interested in and why they're interested in it, and what's important to have as a part of their day and a part of their life to make them want to get up and go do what they want to do each day. Now, David Ellis said, "I don't believe students lack motivation. They lack motive." And we need to stop shoulding all over them and start getting back to what's important to all of us. Shoulding, S-H-O-U-L-D-I-N-G. I saw a face up there. People who understand their interests and their traits and their skills, and then learn how to use those in different environments and situations, are going to find it a lot easier to find a career that matches their passions and their values. And that's a lot better way to make a living doing something they love, instead of having to go to work at something they don't even like to make money, so they might have a couple of hours on the weekend to do what they like. Now, we need to bridge the gap between knowing what's right and doing what's right. And that comes to connecting their learning to something that matters to them. Now, many of today's jobs didn't even exist 10 years ago. And according to a survey by the Department of Labor, 65% of school-aged children are going to be working in careers that either don't exist yet or that are going to change considerably by the time they get there. And I realize it's not the purpose of education to prepare students for their future careers. There is a difference between education and training. But I really think we need to empower our students to think about their future in all they do. We need to look, as we said before, at the whole person and embed learning in real-world context, not just giving them the content, but the why they're learning it and how they can use it in the things that actually matter to them. And we can't do that properly unless we know what their passions are. So let's replace the stoplight in education by using passion to inspire action. Passionate people really are more engaged at life, work, and school. When we find out what each student's passion is, we can then challenge them to start using some of these things in their assignments, like I hear some of you are doing. So for example, those kids who love computers, and we have a little trouble engaging them that way, why not ask them, for social studies for instance, to create their own video game where they're doing their storytelling. They have to do their research, do a bit of programming and artistic stuff, create their game, they can teach others while they're doing it, and then as the others play their games, they'll start learning it as well. Now, how many of you still sing your ABCs when you're putting things in alphabetical order? I really do. So one student that I know can sing the words to any song. And he said if school had been like High School Musical, he would have done so much better. Nobody knew this about him. So nobody told him what a great study and learning skill it would have been for him to actually put some of his music or his work to music and rap. Now, it's too bad he wasn't in this class. If you get a chance to watch this YouTube by the Pipettes, you'll see a great example for chemistry. And I can guarantee you that after this project, these kids knew their stuff, and they had other people singing along and learning it with them. So when they were in the test, they were singing that song. Now, as a career advisor and a passion test facilitator, some of the things I've seen really inspire me, and some break my heart. One student came to me and he said, my parents really want me to be an engineer. What's the lowest I can get? So I don't get into engineering, but I do get into business. That year, it was 83% at the U of C for engineering, 85% for commerce. And he was willing to mess his chances of getting into what he wanted to avoid a difficult conversation with his parents. A conversation I did help him have. Now, another student, when she came to him, I asked her what she was interested in, and she said, you'll only laugh. Everyone else does. Breaks my heart. Now, John from the UK, he reminded me about passion and purpose and drive. John loves music and comedy, has his own comedy channel. John is dyslexic, really struggled with academics. And John knew he wanted to get into the music industry somehow. He went and he did his media training. In fact, he actually taught media for a while. Then he quit his job and he started working nights at a grocery store so that he could deliver demos during the day. And on a vacation, he fell in love with Canada and he decided he was coming back here to become a radio personality. Now, it's a really difficult job to get into, and I thought he'd have to start right at the bottom. Well, didn't John show me? He landed at midnight. 6 a.m. that same day, he turned up at the station of his choice, got himself an appointment with the director, and offered to do anything to be able to show them what he could do. They gave him an unpaid trial and an unpaid midnight show, and today, 3 years later, their evening and weekend show, John's show, is the #1 ranked show for the station, first time in their station's history. He overcame his barriers because he knew what he needed in order to pursue his passions, and he's living his life passionately, and he's encouraging others to do the same. But the real eye-opener for me is my own child. You see, sorry, around our table we always use the term university. Even though I know better, I know so much better. And after 2.5 years at university, my daughter was not happy, and I asked her if she wanted to come home. And she said, but Dad will be so disappointed if I don't get a degree. I felt like such a fraud. I had spent the last 20+ years helping other people, and somehow I had not even managed to help my own child. She didn't realize it wasn't the degree that was important to us, but that we wanted her to be able to have a career where she would be happy, be able to take care of herself, and live the life she dreamed for herself and that we dreamed for her. Every child needs 3 to 5 trusted adults in their lives outside of their parents. People who care about what's important to them and who they can talk to. After all, I was just mom, and they don't want to disappoint us. Now, my daughter did actually go back to school, went and got her medical lab assistant. While she was sitting in her convocation, she got a text message with her ideal job, working at the Children's Hospital, and that's where she's at now. So which adults spend the most time with our children when they're not at home? Well, they spend an awful lot of time at school with us, with the educators. And according to research done by John Hattie, students are perceptive to which students can or which teachers can really make a difference to their learning. And students will work harder for those teachers they respect and those teachers who know more about what's going on in their lives, what they're interested in, and who care more than just about their grades. So what if we used a tool that put teachers and students in alignment of purpose? It's so hard to do this when we are in classes of up to 40 students. How do we build that relationship? If we did something early in each year where everyone in the class could actually start working together and understanding what each person's passion was, and then they could start learning how their choices and their actions relate to their outcomes and what they want in life. I think that would really empower them. And I believe understanding the gifts and the traits, the unique contributions of each classroom member can help create this dynamic. Students learn better cooperatively than they do competitively or alone. And imagine helping them understand their passions and re-engaging them each year by following them and keeping our own professional passions for education alive. We can help them get clarity on what they love, how they can use them in their different courses, and then we can get them to start realizing why what they're learning, even though it's classes that they don't really like, are important to what they want in life. And what do we do with things that are important to us? We take care of them. Now, some of our schools, as you heard today, have a really great start. We're on the leading edge of embedding context and collaboration among courses. And that's going to meet a lot more passions and learning styles. I'd love that. With the Alberta Education's Inspiring Education document and our student-centric learning projects, we're doing a lot more inquiry-based learning, and we are headed in the right direction. I would love to see that built on and used nationwide. So what do I think could make it better? I'd love to see us build on the relationships. Why not start earlier and include the students as they learn about their passions, have them collaborate with us in building this plan so they can see why we are doing the projects we're doing instead of us just giving it to them and asking them to do it. When they understand, they'll have some ownership. They'll have more reason to have buy-in. And they're also going to learn some major life skills that they are really going to need. We're going to retire in a world that these amazing people are going to be running. And we need them to learn this stuff. Let's get them to connect their actions to what they want from their future. In a collaborative, safe environment, they may be more willing to take more managed risks with less fear of falling. And it's only in falling that we learn. And in doing so, they're more likely to be successful. There'll be an active element in their own learning, and they may be able to keep some of those inner blueprints alive. Let's start using passion to inspire action so they can start living their lives with purpose on purpose. Now, when I told my daughter about my passion project, wanting to bring the passion test for the classroom and the passion test for kids and teens to leadership classes, classrooms, youth groups everywhere, she said, "Mom, I wish someone cared that much when I was at school." So do I. Every child needs 3 to 5 trusted adults in their lives outside of their parents. I commit to being one. Will you?